here. All right, wonderful. So thank you all so much for listening, or if you are on YouTube watching today's video. I'm really excited about today's topic because I know, as a 3-time self-published author myself, the importance of getting the word out. It's one of the things that we as authors struggle with the most, as getting the word out consistently about our books, because it's in getting the word out is that the books will start to sell. Now, for the topic of today's podcast episode, Sheryl Bass reached out to me a few months ago to talk about her book and her children's book and her results that she's gotten. And again, I understand the power of public relations and PR, but again, I know that can be daunting, especially when you don't know the first steps in how to even pursue or do that. So when she reached out to me and I saw her book and I saw her results and I saw the things that she was sharing and what she had done, I knew for you all as my listeners in the coloring book creator community that this was something that was definitely needed. So again, we had a wonderful conversation between the two of us a little earlier and got to understand her process more and what she's doing and the things that she's done that's helped her sell over 400 copies of her book in 6 months. So I knew that I had to bring her on. So gratefully, she agreed to do this interview with me today, and I'm glad to have Sheryl with us today. So Sheryl, how are you?
Good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful, thank you for coming. So this is what I wanted to say here, because I kind of wrote out a little bit of an outline I wanted to cover here. So we all want to see our books in the hands of the people who will enjoy and appreciate them. But let's face it, selling your books one-on-one can at times feel daunting. But what if there was an effective way to go from one-to-one to one-to-many? And public relations, PR, is one of the ways that an author of any genre, not just coloring books, can use in order to help spur on sales and sell more books. So that's what you're going to learn today. Now, about my guest. Sheryl Bass, as I said, is a self-published author, a children's book author of Baby Dragon's Big Sneeze that has sold over 400 copies in 6 months. And I'm going to let Sheryl now tell you a little bit more about herself and her background, but I want you to, take copious notes. We've got tons of resources for you as well, and you're going to learn a whole lot. And hopefully this will spur you on enough to start pursuing your own public relations opportunities to get your book that you put your heart and soul into the hands of more people who will love and appreciate them. So Sheryl, thanks again for coming, and how are you?
I'm great, thank you. So a little bit about myself. I have a master's degree in social work, and I've studied child development in that program. And I use those insights to inform my picture book writing. I also have a master's degree in journalism, and I've been working in public relations for more than 15 years. And I created my own publishing house called Be Kind Publishing. And my goal with that was to create lighthearted rhyming stories with themes of friendship and teamwork. Social emotional learning is sort of the term that's used for those types of messages. And I live outside of Chicago with my husband and my 2 dogs.
Fantastic, fantastic. Now, let's go right into it. I know we talked about several things in our preliminary conversation. And one of the things that I know, and actually I did a podcast episode, actually our conversation inspired a podcast episode that I did strictly on the topic of the importance of story. Mm. So as you know, in putting together what's going to make an editor or a podcast guest or host bring you on is not for us to come on and just talk about our book. Mm-hmm. They want to know how what we are about and what we've done and what we've created is going to be of benefit and interest to their audience. Mm-hmm. So what was discussed was the power of story. Mm-hmm. And our personal story. And it's something I say to my students all the time is we must be willing to get in front of our books. Mm-hmm. Not the book lead us, but we lead the book, and how our stories influence what we put together. So could you talk a little bit more about that, Sheryl, in terms of your story and how it influenced what you've done and how maybe people listening can apply the same thing to their situation?
Sure. So everybody has something that makes their story unique and interesting, their backstory generally. And in PR, I've done that a lot with people. I worked at a PR agency that was with franchises, for example. And I remember one of the things that we would do when we would pre-interview our franchisees before we would then promote them nationwide, in their local markets and so on. And we would ask them certain questions to try to get to the heart of some things that might be interesting to a reporter. Um, are they a former member of the military? Are they starting a new business over the age of 50 or under the age of 30? Um, are they involved in any kinds of partnerships with nonprofits or anything like that, or causes, social causes that reporters may find interesting? Well, I had this conversation with this one guy, and I was trying to promote a company that he worked for that had to do with cleaning out the hoods of restaurant, the grease hoods at the top of when you're cooking in a restaurant. Not a very sexy concept to try and get a reporter interested in. But so I asked him all kinds of questions. Do you have any interesting hobbies? Or, asked him about his kids, asked him all kinds of questions to try and get to, he just seemed like a regular guy. He didn't really have a whole lot going on. So I was really kind of struggling because the concept wasn't that interesting. And frankly, he didn't sound that interesting. But then I was about to hang up and he said, I am 7 feet tall. And I said, wait a minute, really? And he said, yes. And he said that he knew Shaquille O'Neal in high school. And I said, you clean out these restaurant hoods. Did you have to have your truck retrofitted because you're so tall? And what about your uniform? And did you, I bet is it easier for you to do your job because you're so tall? And we got in a whole conversation about it. Well, I ended up putting that in my pitch to the reporter, and the reporter ended up putting him on the front page of their local newspaper, put her foot and his foot next to each other because his foot was so much bigger than hers. And that was the cover shot. And you never know. My point is human interest. You never know what a reporter is going to go for in a story, what makes you unique. There was somebody else who I was pre-interviewing before I was going to pitch them, and they had recently adopted 6 children. And that had nothing really to do with the story itself or what they were promoting, but the backstory of the person was so interesting to the reporter. It made them want to support this person and get the word out about them in the community because they thought that was so nice that they adopted these 6 kids. So you never know what kinds of, if you're doing some kind of community involvement or some kind of a partnership, something that may make you unique to a reporter. So think about that. So when I'm pitching myself, like just when I introduced myself here, I talked about my background in social work and how I learned about child development and how that informed my picture book writing, and then my journalistic background and my PR background. And so I put that together in how I was presenting myself. If you have a background as a former teacher, or you have several young children and you're doing these coloring books, or other types of background with illustrating and so on, that those are the types of things that are nice to put in a pitch and or a press release. Because there are a lot of coloring books out there, but what makes you unique, there's no one else that's exactly you, So and don't be afraid to be a little vulnerable. For example, one of the reasons I decided to self-publish my picture book when I did was that my father last year, unfortunately, was dying. And I wanted I wanted him to be able to hold my book in his hands before he passed away. Unfortunately, he was not able to do that. He passed away on September 4th, 2022, and my book published on October 19th, 2022. But he got to see the illustrations in black and white, and I was able to make the dedication in the book to him. And I talk about that also in my self-publishing journey when I do interviews and so on. So, what you bring to the table is yourself, and nobody else has that, and that's what makes you unique. So, definitely, bring yourself to the table there.
Yeah. First of all, I want to acknowledge, I'm sorry for your loss. My
Thank you.
condolences. Our stories, I didn't even realize in that regard to our fathers and our what sort of connected our publishing of a book. My second book I released in 2010, and it was not an illustrated book. It was a strictly written book. It was on marketing for photographers, because at that time I was a photographer. And I didn't really share a lot of my things I was doing with my family, but my dad, I think I took a book with me when I went to visit in Texas, and I showed him the book, and he insisted on buying like 5 copies of the book, and then he forced his brothers, I should say, to buy 5 copies of the book. And that was it blew me away how proud he was of it. So fast forward years later, my first coloring book, I self-published in response to his passing the year before. And I tell that story all the time. He had Alzheimer's, and we went through that whole journey with him. And there's a lot going on, especially it was in the height of the pandemic. I wasn't able to go back to the funeral. It was just a lot going on. And so in response to my own healing is when I created my coloring book. And the title of it is Never Too Late to Make It Happen, because of course, when you as a parent, you start thinking about your own, your own mortality, really. I'll be 60 this year. So that I didn't craft it legitimate. I didn't craft it with, I'm going to use this as my story.
Right.
Just sharing my experience. So as I got comfortable talking about it, that's what I lead with. And when I just submitted my first pitch myself this week, and that's the subject that I sent to the editor. Losing my father to Alzheimer's basically was a reset for my life. And then I went into, what the story is going to be about. So I love what you said, is that it gets us out of our head about thinking about that it's got to be about the book, but it's about us and the commonality and the people that we connect with as a result of sharing our story. And the book is what I feel gives the person an opportunity to take a piece of that journey with them, or whatever. That's kind of how I look at it.
Absolutely.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah. So, yeah. And then, so we talked about the hook and everything, which is what makes you unique. And as far as how to write a press release and a pitch, I can actually show you my pitch and press release that I sent to you and to other podcast hosts, and also sent to other members of the media from my own PR background, just to kind of give you an idea of what a press release might look like. So I'm going to share my screen now, if that's okay.
Maybe give you screen share capability here, and then you should be able to do it.
Should I do it now?
Yeah, go ahead and do it now if you'd like.
Okay. Okay. So.
And for you all who are listening to the audio iteration of this, if you want to see what Sheryl is screen sharing with us, hop over to the YouTube channel to watch the video, and I'll put the link here in the show notes.
Okay. So the pitch, usually what I do is when I write a press release, I start with what's called a pitch, sort of an informal paragraph or so to the reporter explaining, it's a preamble before the formal press release itself. And I lay out what I would do in an interview. So, hi X, please let me know if you're able to do a book review and or author interview to include, now I was sending this around holiday time in a holiday gift guide. So I was promoting this for a holiday gift guide. But, and then I give a synopsis of my story, or you would give a description of your coloring book. And so I say, when a young dragon accidentally burns down a village with a fiery sneeze, the townspeople are angry. The dragon fears for his life until a brave little girl enters his cave and learns that the poor dragon is sick. Baby Dragon's Big Sneeze is a picture book that teaches children ages 3 to 7 about empathy, trust, and forgiveness. So it's good to say, your demographic and what it is that makes the coloring book unique. And then what you would talk about possibly in an interview. Author Sheryl Bass has master's degrees in social work and journalism. In an interview, she could discuss, and then I have bullet points, make it easy for the reporter to see, SEL, or social emotional learning, and why it is important to teach it to children. So I'm offering things that are not just, help me talk about my book to get my own publicity out there. What can I offer to your listeners? So it's not all about me. It's what I can give of value to you. So I can give information about, why social emotional learning is so important, pros and cons of self-publishing versus traditional publishing, and the benefits of rhyme for young readers. And then after you and I talked, Rodney, we discussed that I would talk about some best practices with PR and so on. That wasn't initially one of the things I listed in the pitch, but as we got talking, we discussed that, and that became what this podcast is about. And then I say, please see the press release below for a synopsis of the book and for more information about the author, the illustrator, and the publishing company. Please contact me at the phone number or email address below to schedule an interview with Bass, parentheses, who also happens to be me. A PDF review copy of the book or a mailed hard copy of the book is available upon request. And then I used my signature line from one of the PR agencies that I work for, just to show that I have the PR knowledge. And then at the beginning of the press release part, you say for immediate release, and then you give your contact information. And then I have the cover of my book itself. And that's a nice thing to include in a press release, especially if it's a coloring book, because you want the pretty visual to be there. And then you have the title and so on. And then the synopsis. And then I put in there my own publishing company, the date it was published, and the ISBN numbers. And then a little bit about the publishing company that I created myself, which is also in my on my website, the description of that. And then I have a hot link. When I describe my publishing house, I have that as a hot link, so it drives traffic to my website. And then a little bit about myself, and I have a picture of myself, and then descriptions of me, and then a little bit about the illustrator. And then at the very bottom of the press release, you have these 4 number signs that just kind of tell the reporter that that's the end of the press release.
Oh.
So that's how you would craft a pitch and a press release. What if this seems overwhelming to you and it's hard for you to do your own PR, which is hard for a lot of people. It was a challenge for me. I had to kind of think of myself as a separate person, as a client of mine, and me, the client, what am I going to provide for me, the client? So, but if that's hard for people, I would encourage you to look for a PR agency, particularly a PR agency that specializes in book publishing. And promoting people. They know the industry, they know all the players, they know the reporters that write about these things, they have the databases and the contacts and so on. And so to save yourself time and headache to try and figure out how to write your own press release, Claire McKinney PR, that's one of the resources that we're going to have up on the screen at one point. There's several resources I'm going to discuss here, but that is that's one of the resources that you could do for doing a press release. If you want to do this yourself and find your own contacts, you could go into Google and type in something like ABC affiliate in whatever town you live in, then CBS affiliate in whatever town you're in, and then go to those websites, scroll all the way to the bottom where it says contact us, and go to that main, go to the page there and send to the features editor, feature reporters, possibly business reporters, local news, those types of people, each individually, and send them the pitch and the press release. And then you can also look up lifestyle magazines in your town and newspapers in your town. And then you can also go into a Google search for podcasts about writing, or podcasts about publishing, podcasts about coloring books, podcasts about parenting, children, those types of things. And then do the same thing. Go to the bottom where it says contact us, and then approach these people and send them the pitch and the press release, and follow up with phone calls. And that's how you would do the PR piece yourself.
Wonderful. Now, you said something which I'm so glad that you brought a point up, and I was going to say this to people, to listeners. When you think about, okay, who am I going to send this out to? And just 1 second. Okay, I had to cough there for a second. It can feel daunting. Well, the first question is going to be, who do I send this to? And I don't know about other people, but I know I can think about, okay, the bigger players, like, the bigger publications or podcasters or whatever. And if you're just starting out, really, those are probably, and you may have a a feeling about it different than mine, but I feel that there you're not at the point yet to really go for those bigger names anyway yet. You're not,
Mhm.
you're not comfortable enough having done enough different opportunities to build up your chops, so to speak, to be able to
Mhm.
deal with, like, an ABC or CBS or Good Morning America or something like
Mhm.
that. But there's countless opportunities in our own backyard
Mhm.
with our
Mhm.
local newspapers and our local, radio stations or whatever. I know when I did my book years ago, I bought a directory of radio
Mhm.
stations and reached out to that. Now, of course, all of that is shifted over to podcasts, but I
Mhm.
think for the most part, how you approached me. So being able to find those resources and reach out to the smaller shows,
Mhm. Mhm.
just not just because when I think it'll be easier to get and to get a response if they're a smaller show or a smaller
Mhm.
local thing, but don't diminish that. But
Mhm.
that there's nothing there because they're too small,
Mhm.
of a show. So I'm so glad that you brought that up about starting locally and then
Mhm. Right. And sometimes you can actually get more. I mean, it may sound impressive to say that you're on the Today Show and put that on your website or on, New York Times or whatever, but sometimes you can actually get more sales and more reviews and, money in your pocket and things like that from the local stuff. Because you're a member of the community and they want to support you. So, they're affiliates. So there's ABC, what we know of as ABC and NBC and CBS, which are the national, but then every state, every town, every city has those local affiliates. And that's why if you type in ABC affiliate in, I live in McHenry, Illinois. ABC affiliate for McKinney. So that would be the Chicago ABC station, the Chicago NBC station, and those call letters and so on. And so then I would go to those websites. So yes, that's how I would do that.
So in terms of like doing a search on Google for someone who's just listening to this, so they would type in ABC affiliate, and then you said their city.
Yeah, in whatever their city is that they live in, or
Okay.
their biggest city within, say, 60-mile radius of them.
Okay. Okay. Then go to
So
scroll to the bottom where you see all the contact information. That's where you can find the name of a person that you can contact. Let me ask you this question in regards to sending out your pitch or your
mhm.
whatever. What's the timeline for following up?
Hmm.
You reckon?
That can vary. I usually I'll send, I mean, everybody has their own way of doing this. If you talk to three PR people, you're going to get three completely different responses on how people have their own style with this.
Mhm.
So what I like to do is I have a software. That's one of the things that's better about dealing with a PR professional than doing this on your own, because PR professionals have databases of literally hundreds of reporters for every city and town and whatever, for newspapers, magazines, radio, podcasts, all of that at their fingertips. And they can write the pitch, press a button, and it blasts it out to over 100, 200, however many people, and it changes the name automatically. So the person reading it thinks it goes just to them. So, dear Rodney, dear Sheryl, dear whatever. And then it's got that pitch in there. And they can read that there, and then usually, so I blast out the email, and then usually like the next week I'll call people back. Who first I'll see who comes back to me from the email.
Mhm.
Then I call people, and there's also differences among PR people about whether you leave messages on voicemails. I definitely leave messages on voicemails because most of the time, reporters will screen their calls. So get comfortable leaving a pitch on a voicemail. Hi, this is Sheryl Bass. I'm a local author, rhyming children's book author. I've written a children's book called Baby Dragon's Big Sneeze. And I have a background in social work and in journalism. And I use both of those to inform my picture book writing. I would love to talk to you about that and do an interview. My story has messages of social emotional learning. I've started my own publishing house with those messages in mind. and I just sent you an email, and it would have come from such and such an email address. Please look for that email. And you can call me back if you want to discuss an interview day and time. You can call me at such and such a phone number or email me at such and such. Thanks so much. I look forward to hearing from you. Bye. On to the next one. So that's what I do.
So would that phone call be in conjunction with sending out the email?
Yeah. So I send the email the week before, and then if they don't respond, then the next week I say I'm calling regarding an email that I sent you last week, with an interview idea or a story idea, or possibly book review. I'm a children's book author, blah, blah, blah. And the email came to you from such and such an email address. And I think I said such and such in the subject line, to help them find it again. If you need me to resend it, I'm happy to resend it, and then a lot of people have called me back based on voicemails that I've left them.
Perfect.
So,
Perfect.
yeah.
That's a really good. I never thought about the phone call. You don't. It's so funny now. We live in such a world now where everything is text, chat, and we forget about the power of a phone call. I think
Right.
so like, oh, I don't want to feel like I'm bothering them, but you're bothering them. They're looking for stories.
Yes. And they get hundreds and hundreds of emails a day. So they could just easily skip over your email. But if they hear a friendly voice on the phone, they're going to look for that email and flag it, So that's been very helpful to me.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much for going to depth on that. That's really, I know this is going to get a lot about that. So, so the hook, I want to stay with this for just a quick second because I'm sorry. We talked about the hook. Let me back it up. So we talked about the power story. We talked about the hook, which is what you were talking about with this gentleman that was 7 feet tall. So you have to what your hook is, what your thing. A hook means. Can you, for listeners who are maybe unfamiliar with these terms, what would be a simple way to tell someone listening who has no idea about this, what is a hook?
What makes you qualified to do a coloring book? What makes your story unique? What do you bring to the table? What's interesting about you? Those types of things are the types of human interest hook. What would grab somebody as a reporter that might be interesting to them? So, and you never really know what that might be, but something that makes your story a little bit unique. And then we talked about how to craft the press release. I showed you that on screen. And then where to find the media contacts with the contact us. And then as far as prepping your online presence for media attention and sales, there's several things about that. Before I decided to self-publish my book, I had tried to publish it traditionally and was not getting anywhere. The children's picture book market is really overloaded right now with celebrities, frankly. A lot of celebrities, late night talk show hosts and so on are traditionally publishing children's picture books. And if a publishing house has only, say, 10 spaces for picture books, they're going to publish the picture books of Jimmy Fallon rather than someone like me who doesn't have the name recognition. So I was reluctant to self-publish because I didn't know the first thing about it. I didn't know what an ISBN code was or how to file with the Copyright Office, the U.S. Copyright Office, and all of that. But I'm a member of the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, and getting involved in trade organizations is a good thing. Children's Book Insider is another one that I'm a member of, and both of those groups, for their members, have free videos, training videos on all different topics and honing your craft, how to market yourself, all of those things. And so I was watching one of those free videos, and there was a woman, April Cox, who was talking about self-publishing. And she has this company, Self-Publishing Made Simple, and that's going to be another one of the resources that we'll put up on the screen. But she talks about, she can get on Zoom calls with you and walk you through the whole process of how to purchase these ISBN codes, which is like the UPC symbols on the back of a book. Every book has one. And how to file with the Copyright Office, how to start your own publishing house if you want to go that route, whether to be a sole proprietorship, all of those kind of things that you wouldn't necessarily know. This was my first book, and I'm going to use her actually for all of my books. I'm working on a sequel that's probably going to come out at Christmas. And I'm still going to work with her for that. And she also has vendors that she works with. She has website designers, editors, illustrators. She has someone that does something called A+ content, and I'll show you what the A+ content is when I show you my product page on Amazon. And she has people that help with social media. So all of those vendors can help you get prepared before the book even comes out to create, I would suggest have a social media page that is separate, that's just for your book, that's separate from your own social media where you're perhaps posting things about your own political beliefs and things like that that you don't want necessarily to be, you want you want to be vulnerable and be who you are with your book discussions and so on, but you do want to also have a bit of a boundary there. So you don't want to necessarily use your personal Facebook as your same thing for your promotion of your book. I mean, you could promote it to your friends on your personal Facebook, but then also maybe I have a separate Facebook page, for example, BE-kind space publishing, Be Kind Publishing. And that's just the face of my book and my publishing company and all of that. And so I had someone help me with that. So you could develop the social media page. You can do all of those things in advance before you before you even publish your book. So I can show you actually my product page on Amazon. I can share my screen again if you'd like to see it.
Please do.
Okay. Okay. So
While you're pulling that up, I'm going to ask you, do you have any feeling one way or the other over a Facebook page versus a Facebook group as far as building up a community around your audience as you're
I
going?
think both are very important. I found one of my editors through my Facebook, through one of those Facebook groups. And let's see. So there are groups for everything, groups for diseases you think you might have, or to give, they're like these cyber support groups, and there are groups in self-publishing and things like that. For some reason, it is not coming up here, my product page. Actually, if you could go to it, Rodney, I'll tell you, if you go to Amazon.com.
Can you pop the link in the chat here on Zoom?
Sure.
That way I know I make sure I click on the right thing. Perfect. Okay, let's click on that. And let's go over.
So if you go to Amazon.com and then you type in to the search at the top, Baby Dragon's Big Sneeze.
Oh, it's not moving. It's not going anywhere. Okay, hold on a second. Let me close out of this, and what I'll do is I'll go to screen share. Actually, give me 1 second here. Okay, and then let me pull it up. There's a couple of tabs here. If you're watching on YouTube, you're getting a full behind the scenes experience here at Amazon. Okay. And
then in the search bar, just type in Baby Dragon's Big Sneeze. Apostrophe S.
Okay, I got it here. And
Okay.
are you seeing the screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Scroll down, please. For some reason, it's not, try it again with an apostrophe before the S. It's not coming up. And it says all tiny dragons and so on. That's not what we want.
Oh, okay. Let me do it again. Okay.
Put it in quotes, maybe. Baby. Okay, there it is. Okay, now scroll down. Okay, now click on that. Okay, now there's several things I want to talk to you about this page. Okay, at the top, you notice how I did a subtitle, which was recommended to me to do that. So even though the subtitle doesn't appear on my book itself, the subtitle can help you in terms of keywords and stuff like that on Amazon. So April, we did a lookup of different terms that do really well, and empathy and trust were words that do really well in terms of getting people to want to buy a book. So so we added a picture book about empathy and trust for children ages 3 to 7. So you can do that. You can have a subtitle, even though that's not in the book itself. Okay. You have to also make sure that the cover is attractive to people, which I think it is. I loved the illustrator that April, it was one of the ones that April recommended to me. And then you scroll down and you have your description. Okay. Okay. Click where it says read more, please. Okay. And so this is, it's good to, now if your coloring book has some text to it or something about that that makes it unique, or it's a full-on activity book or whatever, you know, you can say something about if there is a plot in that goes along with you can explain what that is or what makes it unique or why people would want to use this coloring book. So this is where you're really trying to sell it. So a sweet story for dragon and fairy tale lovers with themes of friendship, empathy, and forgiveness. And we chose those words carefully, friendship, empathy, and forgiveness, because those words April was able to research and they sell well. A sick baby dragon feels terrible when his fiery sneeze causes problems for a neighboring village. Can they forgive and find it in their hearts to help the little dragon? So a cliffhanger, what's going to happen? Follow one brave little girl who enters his cave and confronts the dragon. After learning about his plight, she advocates for him with the townspeople. It will take problem solving at its best to prevent further destruction and heal the ailing dragon. Baby dragon's big sneeze is a perfect springboard for discussions around. And then I have bullet points: found family, building trust, love and kindness, helping others, sharing, reserving judgment, accountability, making amends. Grab your copy now, a perfect addition for every home and school library. So that's my description. You want to make sure that that's really compelling. And then if you scroll down further, if they show products related to that. Okay, now here, see where it says from the publisher. This is called A+ content. And April has somebody that she works with named Holly, who makes these things that go on your, you don't have to have them on your product page, but they can really help your book sell. And this is the A+ content. So they're these big images with text. One big sneeze changes a dragon's life, and it uses a picture from the story. And then scroll down a little bit. And then another one. And every dragon deserves a chance, you know, and then it's got this just to grab the eye of the reader, you know, have as much on your product page as possible. And then scroll down a little more. You know, young readers learn along with the townspeople that just because someone is different doesn't mean they're bad and that everyone makes mistakes. And then scroll down a little further. Let your child's imagination soar as they learn valuable life lessons with a fun rhyming story and delightful illustrations. And then, so that's the A+ content that you may want to consider getting on your product page. And then if you scroll down a little further, I also have editorial reviews. So I signed up to get reviewed by some reputable review companies. And then if they give you a good review, then you can put them in this area of your page called editorial reviews. So I got a 5-star book review by Reader's Favorite, and they also gave me this little, it looks almost like a little medallion that goes on the front cover of my book. And I was able to put that on there too, that shows that that got that review. So that's an editorial review, which carries a little more weight than just customer reviews. And then scroll down a little further, please. Keep going. And then, okay, now if you click on this video for this product, you know, wouldn't necessarily do this for a, okay, hang on a second. Wait a second. You wouldn't necessarily do this for just a coloring book that does not have any text. But if you have something that has some kind of a plot and text and so on, that this could be really helpful. It's a trailer. And I actually brought this trailer with me when I went to an education conference and had a booth there. And I had this trailer. It's a 40-second little advertorial video for my book. And I had it running on a loop. And it has this Celtic music. I don't know if you have your sound turned on or whatever for this, Rodney. But it's
Let me turn the volume way down because I don't want to blast people's ears.
Okay. But okay, let's can you make it full screen? Oh, you're not hearing the Celtic music.
Oh, you're not. Okay.
Oh, there.
what I'll do, let me pause that because I'm not sure if I'll just put the link to your listing in the show notes and then people
Okay.
and check out.
Okay, but it gives a summary of the book, and it plays Celtic music, which goes along with the theme of the book and so on. So that's the book trailer. So that's another thing that you can put on your product page, which can make people, it's animated, and it can make people really draw people to your book. I mentioned also visiting, having a booth at a, oh, and you don't need to share this anymore if you don't want to. We talked about visiting, having a booth at education conferences and perhaps parenting fairs and things like that. Also, possibly bookstores. Now, if you are self-publishing your book, um, going to it might be a better idea to actually go to a bookstore rather than just sending a pitch saying I've self-published this book and so on, because it's getting better, but there's still somewhat of a stigma sometimes among certain bookstore owners and people about self-published books. They don't realize how good the quality is and so on. So if you actually show the book in your hand and it's beautifully, it's looks very professional, well bound, and so on, and you show it to the owner of the bookstore and you say, "Hi, I'm a local, um, coloring book author, and I want to, do a book signing here." You can do that. They might be more open to that if you actually show them the book itself. And if you go to bookstores and you have your coloring book, you can have a couple of pages, have crayons and, have some pages that kids can color while they're there, have some kind of an activity that kids can be doing. What I did when I went to a bookstore and when I also had a booth at this education conference is I had bookmarks that were made that had a QR code that people could use to go to my website. And it also described my book a little bit and said where you can find it on Amazon and what my website was and so on. So Google education conferences to have a booth, look up local fairs, either art festivals or, we're coming on summer, maybe there's more of those outside art festivals and things like that. Join those Facebook groups, on self-publishing or on coloring books or whatever. You never know who you're going to find there. Like I said, that's how I found my editor, and she's great. And school visits, that's another thing that you can do, and be creative. For example, for a school visit, you can partner with someone that who bakes cookies locally, and every child, make sure it doesn't have peanuts or anything that people are allergic to, but partner with them. Everybody gets a cookie and a coupon for a free cookie, and you read the book or you show the book. And one of the other things that's really important is reviews. I have 166 reviews right now on my Amazon page. Getting some reviews beforehand can be a good thing before you even put it on the Amazon page. Having people that or you reach out to some people and have them read it beforehand, and then when you're ready to put it on that Amazon page, you get that first 15 reviews right away. What were you going to say?
I want to ask you a question about that. Now, I've been under the understanding that Amazon wants to verify that the book was purchased by the person who's writing the review.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be that, actually. There are verified purchase, it'll say verified purchase next to it, but there are people that if you have Kindle Unlimited, that just review it, and they don't necessarily have to purchase it to review it. And there is actually one of the ways to get reviews is there's a website called puppy.co, and they have a really interesting process there. What you do is if you choose to do an annual membership, it's about $200, which I think is totally worth it. And you pay that and you get this currency unique to the website, to this app called Snaps. And you exchange these snaps for reviews of your book. And you review other people's books and then you earn snaps by reviewing other people's books. But it's not a quid pro quo. So it's not like, Rodney, I review your book and then you review mine back. Rodney, I would review your book and then you'd review some person X's book and then they review somebody else's. So it's not breaking the rules of Amazon. And the fact that it's not an equal quid pro quo is really good, because if I gave you not a great review, you're not going to necessarily, you're not reviewing mine and looking out to get revenge and give me a bad review back. You're reviewing somebody else's. So
Right.
you earn these points that you can then exchange for more reviews of your book by reviewing other people's books. And the nice thing about this is it tells you on the puppy.co page how many pages or how many words each book is. So you can choose other books to review that are also coloring books or are short picture books or children's books. So you're not reading like a 50,000 word tome just to get an exchange to be able to get a review for your book. You can read other things that are short, comic things or whatever, which is a good idea anyway, to see what else is out there and what other people in your genre are doing. And then you'd review their book, and then somebody would then in turn review your book. Another way to get good reviews is at the beginning of your book to put something in there saying, especially if you have like an ebook version, if you enjoy my book, please consider giving it a review on Amazon, and put that at the beginning of your book. And also there is a way with Amazon in this, there's something called look inside, where you click in Amazon and it has look inside. You can set that at like 40%. And I would do that, especially if I, as a coloring book writer, because you want people to see the beautiful coloring images that they can color. So if that allows the potential buyer to see 40% of your book in the look inside preview, and then they can review it based on that look inside. So that might be a nice way to get some reviews initially as well too.
So that's something that like I understood, is that you basically Amazon, there was Amazon's rule that they didn't want people gaming the system by just getting their family and friends to go on and write reviews for the book when they don't actually own the book.
Right. Well, and they do have some of those things in place. So for example, my last name is Bass, Sheryl Bass. So people in my family, their last name is Bass. I didn't change my last name when I got married. So I have a feeling if they were to use their real name and they put a review on, it probably might flag it. April, who's my mentor, is not able to review my book because they can see that she's been going into the back end and messing with my ads and things like that. So they know that she's my mentor, and so they won't allow her to review my book. So there are certain things like that. But if you go and look into my reviews, not everyone is considered a verified purchaser, because they can review it, because with Kindle Unlimited, they can review it by looking at it for free. And they're not a verified purchaser. They're just looking at it for free, the ebook, and reviewing it that way.
Okay, that's what I was getting ready to say. So the authors who are listening to this, who currently have books already on Amazon that are print only, would they have to do a Kindle digital version of it to be able to get people to look at it to write the review? I just want to make sure.
Not necessarily. They can do things like Pubby, and then the .co, and then there's also if you go to bgsauthors.com, that's Books Go Social, they help you with the Amazon ads. They help you with your keywords. They help you with all of that stuff. And they have a relationship with something called netgalley.com. And netgalley.com is another way to they find people who want to review books, and they find reviewers for your book, and they send them an EPUB version or similar of your book, and they write reviews on that. Now, they haven't purchased it, and they're not verified purchasers, but they're NetGalley reviewers. And some of them are librarians, some of them are whatever. And the nice thing about NetGalley is at the end of every month, you get a printout of all the reviews that the NetGalley people gave you. Some of them give you reviews on just something called Goodreads. Some of them may say, I wasn't able to open it. I clicked on it. It wouldn't open. I couldn't give a review, whatever. But the nice thing is NetGalley gives you all the email addresses of those people reviewing your book. So then you wait a few days or a week or something, and you email the people back and you say something like, for those of you who gave me a great review, thank you so much. If you gave the great review on Goodreads, but you didn't give it on Amazon, please, consider also copying and pasting your review into Amazon. If you weren't able to open my book on NetGalley for some reason, because for some reason, some people had written in the comments they were not able to open it to review it. Here's a PDF of my book attached for your convenience. If you please also let me know, or please go to my website and type in your email address there, and you'll get 5 free coloring pages. So you want to sweeten the pot for people to get for an email list. 5 free coloring pages if you give me your email address, and then I'll let you know when I have my sequel coming out, and so on. And so I send all that to the NetGalley people, and then those who didn't give me a review, or those who only gave me a review in Goodreads, then it comes out on Amazon. And then I get a lot more of the email addresses for sending a monthly email about what's going on with my book and so on. And so in fact, I got a lot of email addresses from going to this children's education conference that I went to. Email addresses, having an email list and sending monthly email correspondences and so on is really huge. Some people say it's better than doing like Facebook ads or things like that, because you've got a targeted group of people that would be interested. So all of what happened was, when I went to this education conference, some people came up to my booth and they signed a piece of paper with their email address saying, I was welcome to do that. But then also, they were doing a raffle at this conference. And they said, anyone who's a vendor who wants to give away something, you can get the names and email addresses of all of the attendees who want to win something from the raffle. You can get all their email addresses in exchange for giving something away. So I gave away 2 copies of my book, and then I got over 400 names just from going to this one conference of librarians and pre-K and kindergarten teachers, and it was near me. And so I have over 400 names of people now that I can send monthly emails to if I win an award, if I go on a podcast, if I get an editorial review that's good, if I have something coming up like a reading at a bookstore or a fair, or I'm going to start selling plushies of my characters or whatever. I put that kind of news in my email, and it keeps me top of mind for people, and that can also help with my sales.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm always telling my members of my program all the time is that you start out, even before the book is published, start collecting email addresses, because that's your database. That's what you, so God forbid that something happens even with Amazon and your book is no longer there or whatever. I mean, it has happened. Etsy or whatever, or Facebook goes down. I mean, we don't know anymore. That database is yours and you own that. And you can always, as you pivot and swing, if you have to switch platforms or whatever, you can stay in contact with them. So I'm so glad that you said that, because that's something that I'm constantly like going, you've got to be always building your list. So
yes, absolutely. And then another thing that is important to know with Amazon is categories are so important. What category you list yourself in. There are hundreds and hundreds of categories for Kindle, for hardcover, and for softcover that you can choose from for your book. And if you put your book in one category, it can be the difference between being a bestseller in that category and not selling well at all. And there is a website called Publisher Rocket, which is another one of the resources that we'll talk about, that you'll put up on the screen. And you can look at the categories that are available and how many sales you need to reach number 1 and how many sales you need to reach number 10. And the idea is to choose categories that fit your book, but are not as competitive, so that you don't have to make as many sales to be considered in the top ranking for those categories. And you're allowed 10 categories for Kindle and for paperback.
Let me do this really quick. As you mentioned this, and I didn't realize I could share the screen on this.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Publisher Rocket. Okay, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
Right. And then are you able to get into Publisher Rocket? Do you have a subscription?
I don't have an account, no.
Oh, okay.
Really,
Okay. Well, when you go into the account, there's like 4 different things that come up on the screen, and one of them is categories. And you can click on the categories to see. Oh, yeah, that might try and see if that'll show you. No, that's let me see if I can do it on my screen.
okay.
First, I'll
I see this as discover best-selling categories in seconds. How much is this service?
it right now, and the price is going to go up soon. It's about $100, but it's a lifetime membership, and they're always updating it. So the categories are always changing. One week, one category may be, very easy to become a bestseller, and then, 3 weeks later, it may not be. So you check this periodically, and you can sort of play around with the categories that your book is listed under. Now, you don't want to be dishonest. I'm not going to list my book as a romance because it's not.
Right.
But there's still a lot to play around with. I can say, medieval or Renaissance or Norse or whatever, and all of that would probably be, historical, children's picture book, historical fiction. There are a lot of categories like that I could use to where I could list my book. And then you send an email. Well, you send a correspondence in like a little chat box thing to Amazon, and tell them that you want to be in these certain categories. Okay, yeah, oh no, age, number of pages. No, that's not it. But it'll tell you like how many sales you need to be number 1 and how many sales you need to be number 10. And you want to find those that are that you don't need to have a whole lot of sales in order to be number 1 or number 10.
How many categories can you be in at any one time?
You can be in up to 10 categories for Kindle and for paperback. Generally 3 categories for hardcover.
Okay. Other question, you mentioned Kindle a couple of times. I've never ever, I've published digital Kindle books, but I don't necessarily see that as an option for coloring. Unless, you can do a PDF iteration of your book, which someone can open up and use. I think there's one called Good Notes, or there's actually coloring apps. We can actually do that, but I think that's for digital coloring, which most people want to actually have the physical copy in their hand.
Right.
I've never seen anyone publish a coloring book in a Kindle format that's sold as a Kindle, because you can't even print it.
Right. Well, it would be Kindle Unlimited, which would be free to look at for the people who have Kindle Unlimited. And that would be more for if you have a coloring book that also has some text, that has a plot or a storyline or something like that. And people would look at that for reviewing. People would go to the Kindle so that they could review it.
Got you.
Write a review or something, or they could make a purchasing decision. They would look at the Kindle and then they like it and then they buy the paperback, or you know what I mean? So so that might be an option there too.
Okay. Let's see, there was another question that I had that you brought up, but I wanted to we were at the sort of the tail end of our conversation, and this was amazing. I'm so glad. I'd love to have you back.
Okay, great. Well, I have my sequel coming out in December, so.
Yeah, so many great resources. But we were going to talk about the little known resources. So what I'll do, I'll put the links inside of the show notes here, and on YouTube, I'll put it in also in the notes there. But I just wanted to go over the resources that you had mentioned. You mentioned Publisher Rocket, which I just clicked on. And this was Pubby. And what I'll do is I'll share my screen for all of you who are watching on YouTube to see the resources that Sheryl has mentioned. So here's Pubby, and this is the one for reviews.
Yes.
Okay. And you can try it for free. And what's the pricing on this if you want to stay?
If you want to stay, it's about $200 for the year.
For the year, okay.
And about almost 100 out of my 166 reviews came from Pubby people. And a lot of them came also from NetGalley. Those 2 places are where most of my reviews came from.
Let me stop sharing. I'll pull up NetGalley and then show everyone that one. I think I have that in my, yes, I do. I have it here. Share screen again. Oh, speaking of NetGalley, so We had spoke about, or maybe I misunderstood, so please correct me if I'm, when someone buys our book
Mhm.
on Amazon, we don't have access to the buyer's information, correct?
Right. The only chance, the only place that you have the information about the buyer is through NetGalley. At the end of every month, they send you the name and the email addresses of the people that are reviewing your book. So then you can make the email list with that. But I usually email the people back, and in that email, I say, thank you for your review, blah, blah, blah. If you'd like to be part of my mailing list, please go to my website, and and then you can get the 5 free download the 5 free coloring pages, and then you'll be on my email list. You always want to offer something to people for giving you their email address to use in that fashion.
Okay.
So
So just so I'm clear, so NetGalley will supply us with the email address and contact information of the book reviewer, not the book buyer.
right, right.
Okay, I want to make sure I'm clear on that. Okay, great.
Yes.
Great.
Mhm.
Okay. And then let me stop share and then go back over to the list again and see if there was enough color other ones that you mentioned. There was so much. You also mentioned to me, let's see, was this story original
Story
ad?
origin.
Yes, let me share that.
Story origin, I haven't started using yet. I'm not sure whether I'm going to use it. I have had uh but what you can do is you can find reviewers, and you can exchange email lists and things like that
Okay.
with this. So I need to have someone, I need to go through the tutorials and figure out how to use it myself. I think it was $100 for a year.
Mhm.
Um, and but I had somebody tell me, don't um, someone advised me, don't do email list trades, because some people may be upset. They agree to be on your email address, on your email list, not to be on somebody else's. And so trading of email lists, but there's group promos and things like that you can do through Story Origin. And unfortunately, I don't know how to do that yet. I need to go through the tutorials, but that's another resource out there for getting the reviewers and getting email people on an email list for you.
Okay. Then let's see, there was one other one that you, well, several that you mentioned. Let's see, wait a minute. NetGalley. Oh, was this BGS authors?
Yes, that's Books Go Social. They're the ones that help with the Amazon ads.
Let me
So
share.
if you work with them, they can hook you up with NetGalley. They have a relationship with NetGalley. And they can help you with the wording of your ad, with your how many keywords with the keywords you're choosing, and the types of ads you're doing, and all of that. They go in the back end, and they look at your ads and optimize your ads for Amazon.
I want to talk about this for just to briefly for a minute. I know that's not the total focus of the conversation, but um, are you talking about Amazon ads?
Yes.
Okay. And are you currently using or have you used Amazon ads to promote your book?
Yes. Uh-huh. I
And
have
how have
several.
they benefited yours? Have they impacted your sales and in a positive way, or what's your impression about them?
Yes, absolutely. They have impacted my sales. I just finished taking a class on doing Amazon ads, and there's 4 types of Amazon ads. I have started with 2 of the 4 types so far, and I'm going to have a one-on-one session. The class is almost finished. It was a 6-week class that I took with someone, and then I'm going to have a one-on-one with her where she's going to help me build the other 2 types of ads. But she is an alternative to Books Go Social. She is an individual person that helps people create and optimize their Amazon ads, and it makes a huge difference. It absolutely can help you really increase your sales to have really good Amazon ads.
I'm very familiar with Facebook ads. I've run Facebook ads myself for years. And I'll admit, when I first published my book a couple of years ago, I did test out Amazon ads for a hot minute. I didn't keep it up long because I felt, for me personally, that for the amount that I had invested in the ads and then the ROI on the book sales itself, it seemed like it wasn't really balanced, or it wasn't really, like, for me, from my experience, and that's why I'm so glad that we're talking about this from your experience. I don't want to use the word internet marketers, but I'll go there. pretty much what I see, internet marketers or people who use internet marketing to what they call a book funnel will sell the book as a way to then stair step people into their higher ticket level opportunities or offers, whatever the case may be. So they're almost willing to lose a little money on, or some money on, the book because they have something they want to ascend people into that is more higher ticket.
Okay.
What the concern was with coloring books was because of the percentage that we get to keep.
Mm-hmm.
Are you just breaking even? Are you profiting? Does it
Mm-hmm.
impact sales that much? And so I'm so glad you brought it up because I've not touched that really. Because I didn't really fully understand them. I know Facebook ads, but I wasn't sure with Amazon ads, is the ROI really there?
Right. Well, there's two things about Amazon ads that make them in some ways stronger than Facebook ads. One is that people are going to Amazon to buy. They're already in a buying mode. So if they see an ad for something, they're already in the mode. People go to Facebook to show pictures of what they ate last night. They're not necessarily there to buy. They're not in that mindset. So it's not as targeted. And then also the other thing with Amazon is it's a pay-per-click kind of a thing, and it's bidding. So you win the bid if and you can change the bid amounts so that you're not spending too much. There's even a calculation called ACOS, ACOS, which has to do with like what you were saying, if you're breaking even, how much you're spending on the ad versus, and it has to be 50% or lower. And you can mess around with your keywords and mess around with certain things of who you're targeting with your ads and your search terms and all of these things in order to make sure that you're optimized well so that you're not, so the ROI is coming out in your favor. But the nice thing about Amazon is you're only spending when those impressions turn to clicks. Whereas I think with Facebook, you're just paying just to have it there, just to have it appear.
Right.
Know.
It depends upon what you choose as your objective, but because it depends on if you're going to pay for traffic, if you're going to pay to, and of course, and I totally agree with what you're saying, is that Facebook or all of them, they don't want us to take what they consider their customer out of their container. So if I run a Facebook ad, but I'm sending them to Amazon, they're going to charge me more for that because I'm taking them out of Facebook. So with Amazon ads, of course, it would make sense that you probably would be spending less because you're going to keep the person in Amazon. And even if they don't buy your book, they'll buy something else because they're already on the platform. But I just wasn't sure if the numbers lined up with what you invest to what your profit.
That's why you have to go in like weekly and optimize your ad or hire someone to be your ad person. For a children's picture book, with the paying of the illustrator and everything, it's thousands and thousands of dollars. But you almost have to be prepared to spend about that much, at least for your first book when you're starting, on the marketing, as well as what you're spending on just getting it out there. Because there's so many thousands of books out there. It's like if a tree falls in the forest and no one's there to hear it, you could have this great book, and if no one buys it, no one sees it, that's not going to do you any good. So, but one of the best ways also of getting your book seen is having a sequel, or doing another edition or whatever, and just building up your name as an author,
Yeah,
so
together. And I always say too to all of my members as well is that your book also is not only a income source in of itself, but it's also a marketing tool. So you've got the real estate in there to put pages, links in there to your other things, to your social, to your other books that you have, to your website, to whatever. I mean, the beauty about QR codes, because they've got a physical book in their hand, they can just take a picture of it. You can send them to a Linktree page where they have a directory of all the different things that you've got going on, the ways that they can connect with you. If you have an Etsy shop, or, I know a lot of my students now are taking some of their illustrated designs in their book and they're putting them on products. So ancillary ways to generate income in addition to the physical book. I did want to say this to you, which you mentioned a moment ago. One of my bookstores, one of my members actually has sold her book, Grassroots Marketing, face-to-face, talking to people. And she walked into a Christian bookstore, not thinking at all about promoting her book. But one of the things that I tell all my members to do, I says, carry your book with you all the time.
Yes.
All the time, carry your book. So she was there not thinking about, she didn't go in there with an agenda. And she's having a striking up a conversation. She pulls out her book to like get to pay for something else, and like, oh, what's that? Now the book is in the store.
Right. Yep.
So, I
Yeah,
told.
and to keep an open mind about that, there are museum gift shops, and that you don't even think of as a place where they may want to have your book, you know. So yeah, keep an open mind about all of that. Yeah, in my car, I keep hard copies and paperbacks and my hardcovers in my car, so wherever I go, it's there.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've pretty much covered everything. I know there were a few more resources. I just want to take a quick look at the list and see if there's anything that you did mention that I didn't share screen on. But I think the big ones we looked at, Puppy, Story, or yeah. Oh, Instagram Spark.
Ingram Spark.
Ingram, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Ingram Spark is for the hardcovers. If you want to do a hardcover, it's through Ingram Spark. And it still shows up on Amazon. And if a person orders a hardcover, they think that they're getting it through Amazon, but it comes through Ingram Spark. So so that Ingram Spark allows you to sell your book at barnesandnoble.com, target.com, walmart.com, some of those other things as well. So it's it's available for order and so on, either online and through those. So it actually made it easier for me to do a book signing and reading at a Barnes and Noble, because it was something that I could say it's actually in your system. It's in, if you go to your barnesandnoble.com, it's there. It wasn't in their physical store. I brought copies and I sold them there. I had one of those things that you put on your phone that you can take a credit card with or whatever, and they let me sell my book there. And it helped, bring people into the store. I promoted it. But yeah, so that allows you to sell it to other entities other than just Amazon.
Wonderful. And let's see, there's a couple of more, two more pages that you shared with me. Now, this here is your page.
Yes, that's my website, www.be-kindpublishing.com. And the coloring pages, so if you want up to five free coloring pages of images from the story itself that people can color on their own, they click on download and they type in their own name and email address. And you see, and your coloring pages are on their way. You put in your name and your email address. It gets in my system so that you're on my email list for once a month email correspondence. And in exchange, in your inbox of your email, you get these 5 free coloring pages that you can download and color.
Got you. I love your landing page. It's really it's clean, very easy to navigate and go through. I like the way you display the pages.
Thank you. And that was all the web designer that I got through April Cox and her self-publishing Made Simple. That was the web designer that she recommended for me.
Wonderful. And let's see, I think you sent over the link to her self-publishing Made Simple.
Yep, self-pub made, yeah, there it is, self-publishing Made Simple. April Cox. And she offers classes, but she also can give you individual assistance through Zoom calls and so on.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And let's see, was there any other sources that I didn't share? Oh, Claire McKinney Publishing.
Yes, that's the PR agency that I've worked for since 2017 that specializes in promoting people's books. So I had been doing PR for, over 10 years by that point, but having a PR person that specializes in book promotion can be really helpful. So whether it's Claire McKinney PR or another PR agency that specializes in book promotion, that can be very helpful when you're starting out.
This is wonderful. Well, Sheryl, I have to say, I'm just beyond thrilled to have this conversation. I've learned even more. This is what I say all the time. It's a continuous process. We're always learning new things, and I know, as you're listening, you might feel like, oh God, I don't even know where to start with all of this. If someone's asking themselves that question, out of everything that we've shared today, all the resources and from beginning to end, what would you say would be the first step that someone listening who may be feeling a little overwhelmed, what do they start with first?
You could start with maybe joining some Facebook groups for self-publishing and things like that. the top three, I think, would be, you know, finding that mentor person, Self-Publishing Made Simple, or someone else, you know, joining some associations and watching some videos. There's so many free videos on self-publishing and book publishing and mentors and things like that that people can do. So yeah, finding your mentor, and then getting that website, getting that separate page for yourself on social media. That's and get that all set up before, preferably before you publish your book. Those are those beginning things that I would start with. Find your community, really. You're not on your own. Self-publishing, basically, my main thing to convey is it is a misnomer. You're not sitting alone with a big, thick tome saying, you know, self-publishing for dummies or something, trying to figure out how to do this by yourself. There's a whole community of people that have advice. There's mentors. There's people who have done this. And there are free courses you can do and all kinds of things like that. So you find other people and make a community for yourself. So you don't have to go it alone.
Yeah, and get support. I mean, that's the thing that I love with my members of my program, is that you're not doing it by yourself. So I guess I think the number one thing is to find your tribe or your or whatever. Get involved in something, because it is a lot, and you can't do it once. And some of that can be objective and can maybe see things that maybe because we get too close to it. So to be able to have that second set of eyes or third set of eyes, not that you have to take everything that they say as gospel, but they can help you to sort of, hey, did you think about it this way, or kind of look at it from this way? That's what I love about having ongoing support and mentorship. It's what I do with all of my members is, you know, you're too close to it. And so when I'll just give a slight perspective shift, that'll be, oh, I never thought about it, you know, that way. It can open up a whole new world to you. So it's not about having to do all the things all the time. It's about doing the right thing at the right moment. And then what's next and what's next and what's next. And it's just, it's a process and it's a journey. So.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on your success. I think you're beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful. And I'm so glad you reached out to me. And this too, for all of you listening, this is just an example of what we're really talking about today, is that we can't not reach out to people. You know, everyone that you reach out to is not even going to respond or say yes, but that's not the point. The point is that you reach out and opportunities get created because someone's willing to take a chance and reach out. And as a result of that, then conversations happen and transformation happens, but it only happens because we have to initiate it. So it just circles back to what I say all the time, is we have to be willing to get in front of our book.
Yeah.
And hide behind it and just put it up on Amazon and wait for the sales to come. Nothing that on your part. It doesn't work like that. So anyway,
great.
Thank you again, Sheryl, so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it so much. So now I put up all the links in there. So anyone, if you have any questions, you want to reach out to her, I guess the best way is to go through your page. They can
or you can go to info@be-kindpublishing.com and email me there.
Okay, perfect. All right. So with that said, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. Do check out these resources and keep us posted on what you learn or what you got inspired to do. And every day, reach out to someone, because you never know, that one reach out can be a total game changer for what you're doing. So with that said, thank you so much and take care. God bless. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye. End this.